it was in lockdown, so I was just scrolling on the phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I doing? I checked my screen time. I'm like, 5 hours on this. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, like, I'm not gaining anything. I'm just looking at people's memes and what is this?
Yeah.
So I was like, let me just take a break. And I was like, yeah, my life is much better. I'm doing being more productive. I'm not just sitting there scrolling endlessly.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here with us. The Kasi Podcast, episode 21. I've always got to look at my iPad to make sure. Episode 21. Thank you for tuning in. We have a new special guest with us today. We've got Musa with us today.
Yeah. Thanks
Musa from TheTopicPod.
Thanks for introducing me, Ashley.
It's good.
But yeah, we basically met yesterday formally.
Yeah, formally met
which
yesterday.
Is a crazy thing when we lived like 100 yards away from each other. So I was so even shocked like that he even invited me today.
Yeah,
like,
no.
We just met yesterday and it's crazy.
Nice. So we actually live mad close and we have lived mad close for a while.
Yeah.
So we've seen each other around in person and
we gave each other the side eye from a distance.
And it's like, I know that guy, but
yeah,
I don't really know him like that
really
to say hello.
Yeah.
So we're gonna leave it there. But
I know mutuals a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the first time I met you was because you went to Poly Sixth Form, right?
Yeah.
So there was something that happened there.
Yeah.
At the Sixth Form for a while.
Some event, I think.
Yeah. And I went there, even though I didn't go Sixth Form there.
Yeah.
I knew a few. I don't know why I was there. I don't remember what it was for. But I went and I met a bunch of other people who also went to the Poly Sixth Form who didn't necessarily go to the school. So I think that was the first place I initially saw you and recognized you.
But we didn't
speak there. Yeah. And then it was like a while after I would see you like around.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he must be somewhere around here. But again, it was like, I don't really know him. So I'm not
don't really know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go up to you.
Exactly.
You don't do that in South East London. Go up to random people like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah. But yeah, we met officially last night.
Yeah.
Friend's birthday. Shout out to Mohammed. Happy birthday to you. Even though when this comes out, your birthday would have been long gone.
Long gone.
Yeah, we met at Mohammed's birthday. A few people were there. And yeah, we met officially. And it was good to meet you. And you obviously we had mentioned we seen each other around and we live local. And you mentioned I have a podcast. You had already met Simba.
Yeah.
So you acknowledged I have a podcast. And I found out you had your own podcast.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh crap, cool. He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
So now when on we spoke to you a little bit, we spoke a bit. And I was like, cool guy. He's got bands. You said some wild stuff.
Yeah, it was that's just jokes in it between friends. You have to have that side in it.
Yeah, wild stuff. Don't worry, no one's gonna,
It wasn't that wild.
Between me,
it depends on your perspective.
It's between me, you, and the bill. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, you gave me 12 hours notice, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Literally,
So because I mentioned this to you. I was leaving, and I was like, I was looking the whole week, but I'd get someone on.
Yeah.
And was leaving and I saw you. I was like, yo, he seems like vibes and he's got his own podcast and I'm going to check out anyway. So let me see what he's doing tomorrow. If he's free, bring him on. We'll have a chat. And you was free. You said you didn't think I was serious.
Yeah, I thought you weren't serious because he was like just out of the blue and you were saying bye. So I was like, it was in the middle of like, just in the conversation saying bye. Like, oh, get him. I was like, okay.
Nah, and Simba didn't even do it. And I was generally telling Simba, get his... I said it about 4 times because I thought he might not take me seriously. And I really thought he did. And I texted the next morning, he said, nah, I forgot.
Yeah, I think Nabil gave you my number.
He did. Nabil gave you a number. Shout out to Nabil.
But that's cool, man, that you see my vibe and I'm a calm guy. I'm just there for chilling, bro.
So how have you been, man, over the past month, 2 months, 3 months?
Let's start from the beginning. Like lockdown. You want to talk about, because that we always get asked that question nowadays. How was your lockdown?
Yeah.
How was your lockdown? Let me try to start with mine, I guess.
Yeah, you can start with yours and you can go to as far back as you want to go.
Let's just start with the first one.
We can start with the first
2020.
One. Yeah.
Pandemic.
Yeah.
Boom. Everyone locked down.
Yeah.
Everything mad thing. But yeah, I was just doing absolutely nothing. And I was just consuming enough content about anything and everything. Podcast was one of my like favorite things.
Yeah.
And then I think I was listening to like this podcast called Call Her Daddy.
Okay.
And you heard what happened with like all of the situation with
It's two girls, right?
Yeah,
and
some mad
they're
thing
not. They broke up. They're not together.
And then I was like, wait, these girls make so much money from podcasts, crazy money, and they just talk about stuff.
But they talk about stuff that
I don't care about. Yeah, I don't care about it.
But they talk about
obviously,
stuff that sells.
There's a lot of people that relate to that stuff and they like it.
Yeah.
I was like, I can do this as well. So let me start my podcast.
Yeah.
And I was just like, let me just go for it. I just did some research. Be like, okay, what do we need? What's like the cheapest or most productive mics I can use?
Yeah.
And then I got some knowledge about audio and stuff. And then it just went from there. And I started it. Obviously, in the beginning, it was a lot of like speaking to a mic, or just just something new and different. And you get nervous. Yeah. And then now it's just with the flow and it just keeps going. Yeah. And I want to know how you where you got the idea of starting a podcast.
It was quite similar, to be fair. It was I was in a place where I started getting to a lot of podcasts, and I started having my go-to podcast every 2 weeks, whatever. I would know the ones that I want to go to and I want to check them out, and I'm waiting for them to be dropped. And then you start hearing some conversations that you love, that are into, that are interesting, and you have your own thoughts and feelings about it or whatever. But then you realize you're watching through a TV and it's pre-recorded and no one can hear you. So I was like, along them lines, I was like, I have some things that I would like to say. I would love to give people a platform to have conversations where they can come and say what they want to say. And I could do it. But I was flirting around with the idea for a while.
I remember you telling me 2019 or something. You had the idea, but you said you want to start it next year.
Yeah, so
at least you went for it. That's good.
Right, so it was summer 2019 that I said I'm gonna do it. But before that summer, I was thinking about it, and some black friends of mine were saying you should start a podcast, blah blah.
Go for it, man.
But I wasn't sure, and then that summer 2019, I said, I'm gonna do it. But it was along the same lines of just hearing conversations had and wanting to be a part of it, and then just thinking you can.
If you can't be a part of it, do yourself.
Yeah, you can create your own conversations. So that's been sick. Over a year. Yours was over a year too.
Literally the same week we started. That's actually crazy that we actually live down the road and we just started the podcast at the same time, and we never met each other before that. But that's just funny. Crazy to think about. Small world that we live in. But
so that's about yours. Yours is the Topic Podcast. You don't do it on your own. Yeah, you do it with a friend. How did that come about? You
even know the friend?
Childhood. Yeah. Because even when I was starting, my initial thought was I was going to do it with a friend. Yeah, same sort of setup that you have. I was going to do it with a friend, but just for whatever reason, they wasn't really involved in it. So then I thought, okay, you know what? Let me do it myself.
Yeah, I guess.
But so how did that come about?
Yeah, so I've known my friend Ben. I've known him for since school. So I went to the same school with him. Yeah. And then I've known him for my whole life. And then we were sitting next to the river, Thames. Yeah. We were just sitting there, just chilling. Yeah. I'm not going to say what we were doing. Okay. Just say miscellaneous activities. But yeah, we were just chilling. And then because I had the idea in my head of a podcast, but I haven't told him yet. Okay. I haven't told anyone. Yeah. So I was like, I just said it bro, let's start a podcast. Yeah. And then he looked at me like, what is this guy talking about? And then I was like, nah, man, I'm being serious. He's like, okay. He's like, go for it. And then I was like, you do some research, I do some research. Then we get together and then we can do it in your house, my house, depending on the day when you're free. And then he's a calm guy. He's a cool guy. But yeah, so then I was like, yeah, we jump off each other. We vibe off each other. Everything is just the same. Yeah. So yeah, I think I wouldn't have done it with anyone else because I've known this guy. He's been in my form. He was in my form. Yeah. And we were always he was in the football team with me. Yeah. So I was like, this guy's probably the best guy to do it with.
Oh, that's sick.
Shout out to Ben.
The other half of the Topic Podcast. And also the fact that because you guys have known each other for so long and you have that relationship, it's like after you get over the fact of having a mic there. Yeah. Everything else just becomes so natural.
It's like normal conversations.
Right. I'm sure there was 100 other conversations that you guys had.
Yeah. Because normally, as you get older, we didn't have deep conversations before, when we were younger. Because we didn't have that understanding. Yeah. But as you get older, the more we go into this podcast, the more deeper conversations we had, we would never have before. Even though it was on a mic and we were speaking it publicly. It just flowed better because we were talking about stuff that we actually cared about. Yeah. He loves politics and I don't love politics. But I always
it's good.
Yeah, I keep an interest in it because I know he's going to talk about it some way. Yeah. So I need to know if I can understand what he's saying. Yeah. It's just stuff like that you need to just know because he's a close friend of mine. So I'm going to do that for him. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, that's sick. so you go your separate ways, you do some research, you come back together, then it's like, how did you even think about how you're going to run it, the kind of things you're going to talk about?
So in the beginning, because it was called The Topic, every episode was supposed to have a topic.
Okay, cool.
But as we got sorry if I hit the mic again, but as we got more into it, and then we started running out of like what we can actually talk for an hour, we just started
and there's so much freedom in that, like you can talk forever long you want to talk.
Then we just started just talking,
and like, the topic was just,
and then whatever guests we have on, we'll focus on like their history or their past. So like, for example, Joe, your first guest, we had him, and then he had the experience of going uni but having a business at the same time, so we focused on that as a whole topic subject, and that was like a pretty good, I think, episode if you've listened to it. Anyone, shout out to Joe as well, I guess.
Shout out to Joe.
Stuff like that. And then I think last episode we had Mohammed Bojang on.
I swear.
And then that was a great episode where Bojang has a lot of insight on a lot of things.
He does.
He's very
smart
good.
Guy.
Smart guy. Don't get he's gonna get a big head from this now. But he's a smart guy. So that was a good episode, I think.
No, and I think that's one of the best things about a podcast and a conversation at that is that you can have something that you come on and talk about, but without even understanding, the conversation just goes where it goes.
You can just jump off each other, basically. Like, let's say the guest is just talking, and then you can have something different insight on what I'm saying. And obviously, if the guest is accepting it, then
and that's what one of the favorite podcasts that I would love to watch, and what made me think I can start my own podcast, was the biggest one, Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah, that's same.
Where he can have someone that's like a scientist on for like 3 hours. Then they won't exactly talk about science for the whole 3 hours. And then there's the most noticeable people that you can have on. But then like it could be like a comedian, but then they'll talk about something else that has nothing to do with comedy. You know, like this person actually has an interest in this random thing. And but that is the best part of a conversation, of a podcast conversation. And that's how I feel anyway. How was it? So first, because we spoke about it briefly, how was it actually going in there, getting through? Because you talk, like I said, you said this was like a guy you've known for years. Like obviously, talk with him is nothing new. But then all you do is add a mic in front of you, and you press record. People can hear you.
Obviously, when you're like with your close friends and you say some wild stuff like you mentioned. Obviously, you have to put that barrier up when you can't say, because this is going out to the public, and you can't say, because of the day and age that we live in, there's cancel culture and all of that stuff. You can't say,
no matter how big you get, people will find this for 8 years before.
They're like, oh, look what he said in this timestamp, like 2 minutes, like, bro, and it's out of context and everything. So it's just like how are you gonna survive in this world? Like, if you're gonna nitpick little stuff that he said that's out of context. So it does like stuff like that. So you have to put that barrier up when the microphone comes. But obviously, there's still some genuine stuff that we talk about where it more be intellectual stuff like that you can't really. It's just factual stuff that you can't really dispute and say that it's opinion based. But stuff like that, it just goes, isn't it?
And we there's an episode of me and Simba we briefly spoke about. We briefly spoke about that, about how the mindset of someone to go back. In someone's life, and
that's such a weird mindset.
And dig a hole.
Like when you think about it, like we were talking, in one of my episodes, I'm just plugging my podcast. Like, what am I doing? Shameless plug. But I'm just saying, like, when Kevin Hart was gonna do Oscars, and someone went back 10 years on his Twitter. It wasn't even like bad. It was like, oh, I wish my son or something wasn't homosexual or something. Obviously, that's kind of a bit mad to say in this day and age. But so it's how can you go back? Like, you scrolling, let's say they're on the phone, they're scrolling. I'm just imagining that in my head. Like 10 years. What I said, And like, why? What is your life at this point that you're scrolling 10 years down someone's Twitter page?
First of all, that you shouldn't be spending that much time on anyone else's life. But there's something about humans. We don't allow people to. We don't accept or allow people that they've grown. People have grown.
Yeah, they have. The people change over time. Like even you probably have changed. Like from, let's say you left sixth form or wherever college you went to. After that, like 4 years have passed. You've probably changed so much that you probably haven't realized. But people around you will see the differences. But if they accept that changes and they're good changes, they'll tell you. If it's bad, they'll tell you. If they love you, obviously, they'll tell you if it's bad changes. But the same with this. I've been having a conversation with Josh about what people care about now.
Yeah,
like the problems that we care about.
Yeah.
Let's say you were in a third world country. Your problem that day, is what do I eat for my family? That's your main problem.
Yeah.
But now, as we live in this society where everything is like we're taken for granted.
Yeah.
I can't lie. I take water and electricity for granted. Everything.
Of course.
But that's not my problem right now. Like people start developing other problems where he can't be saying this in this person's like. So that's
somebody say I forgot it was, but they said something like we're just talking rubbish, like we're just going mad over these stupid little stuff.
Humans are weird
because there's no war going on.
We're weird creatures. I can't lie. Like our brain is just, when you think about it, our brains like shouldn't exist. I know that's a mad thing to say, but like how do some people, like we have so much uniqueness with every human being that it's just weird to me. To me, it's just unbelievable that we even exist.
Well, it's funny what you said there about, you change and people see that. I remember one time, I don't think I've told it on the podcast before. I remember one time this was like 4 years out of secondary school, leaving school. And I had just I was just walking like to Tesco and I ran into some people that I knew from school days in my year. And they're not people I talk to. I just see them here and there. I'll say like, you're like, well, go on, you're cool. But they're not people I'll chat to. Yeah. And we were doing the small talk stuff that you do. Yeah, like, like how you, blah, blah, what you been up to, etc.
But then ticking the boxes basically.
Yeah. But then one of them mentioned something to me that I don't even remember I was involved in. But they mentioned something to me that I supposedly did, but in school. Yeah. So they're like, oh, I remember you when you blah, 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 blah. And then they sort of asked me about that. And I didn't say anything in the moment, but I was like, my reaction was just, okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but I don't remember.
Maybe because in his mind, that's his memory of you.
Yeah, and I thought about that.
Yeah.
But as I walked away, I was like, a part of me was like, not irritated, but it was like, that was, you're talking to me from 4 years ago.
Yeah, I guess, he's
this
not.
Is 4 years later, like how were you still? And again, I thought about that because my first reaction was how can you treat me or act towards me as if I'm the person from 4 years ago? And then I thought about that, and I thought about he ain't seen me for 4 years.
Yeah, literally, that's
so he just reacted straight off the last person he knew. Yeah. And what it was, I don't remember. I don't remember a damn thing about it. But I started thinking about it. I started thinking about people that I've come up against, that I've met, and I haven't seen in a while. And I started thinking about, was I treating them or acting towards them as if they were the person from that I used to know?
I guess because people have, like, let's say you haven't seen someone from a long time, they'll have the image of you from the last time they've seen you. They won't see like how you've grown or changed. Maybe your appearance might have changed a bit. They'll obviously see that's physical, but you as a person, they won't see that it's not like they can read your mind. Yeah. But obviously, you have to just take that as a grain of salt sometimes when you meet people that you've seen in the past. They might not be your friend; they're just like acquaintances, and they're gonna have this image of you that they've seen from the times you've been with them.
And that's part of the journey that I've realized myself. I need to understand that not everyone would see a thing or feel a certain way towards a thing the way I do. Yeah. A situation could happen.
You need to talk to Karens then.
Who?
All the Karens. They don't care if people don't see the situation like they do.
To this day, I haven't even seen that.
You haven't?
No, Karen was from a meme or something.
Yeah. Have you know what Karens are?
Yeah, it's from the meme thing.
Yeah, from the memes, yeah.
But I thought for a second it was
like a person.
No, I thought for a second it was from that Tiger series on Netflix, that Tiger King.
What's no, I haven't. What's her name? Yeah, Tiger King. It's called Tiger King.
It's called Tiger King, right? I thought it was from that, but I realized it's not. I was gonna say I haven't seen that yet. But apparently there's number 2 coming. I don't know why.
There's number 2 coming?
Yeah, number 2.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. People loved it, whatever.
That came out in lockdown, the first one.
It did.
That's mad.
It did.
Time flies,
Have you seen that all? Tiger King?
No, I've seen it.
I don't think. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Was it?
It's not as good as people, because people had nothing else to watch. Yeah. That's why people loved it.
People went crazy. I still don't get it.
It's wild stuff, but you can tell why it's wild.
Was it a reality show or actual series?
It's based on, it's like a documentary series.
Okay.
Docu-series.
So it's real people in real life.
Yeah, real people. That's how they exist.
Doing mad stuff with lions.
Yeah. Not mad stuff with lions.
Doing bad stuff to lions.
It was more like how they behave with other people rather than it's just that they owned a lot. They just owned a lot of cats.
I thought it was something to do with lions.
Yeah, they owned a lot of like lions, tigers.
Oh.
Like he had a zoo basically.
Okay.
Of
How
lions.
does someone like that get a zoo?
I don't know, man. I don't even remember how long. This was like a year and ago, so it's just.
What was I saying? That's something I'm trying to recognize and realize and understand that certain situations may happen. Not everybody will. First of all, not everyone will react the same way that I would react. Second of all, not everybody's gonna feel the same way about it that I would feel. And then you should understand whatever their reaction is or their feelings are about it or towards it. I sort of need to understand that that's their, which is just another part. I need to understand that that's their reality of it. And so everyone's got different realities.
That's a good mindset to have because in South London, I feel like a lot of people don't have that mindset. Especially like, it's a lot of closed-minded people. I wouldn't say I've met everyone in South London.
Yeah,
obviously
in a lot of places.
But when you grow up there in Southeast as well, like it's just, people just have this, I don't even know what it is. Like the way they just walk around, it's just like they're screwing you. I don't even know, but yeah, it's just not open-minded. Like, but when you go like across the river, like just across the river for River Thames, like north, like it's just different. The culture, the vibe is different. It's like a whole different culture in South than there is like in where we are right now, even in East. Like, have you noticed that ever?
I feel like East London, especially the area we're in, there's a liveliness to it. The way people act, the way people are. I've noticed that just walking through and actually going out around here. That's definitely different from like Southeast, like I say, just across the river where we're from, where we're raised. But and I not grew up, but I would go to North London a lot because I have some family over there. Yeah. But I don't know if I would say I've been out or just observed enough to notice the difference in the vibes. But people do say stuff like that. Like people from North London will say this and that about South London. South London will say this and that about North London people. And it's like, to what extent is it really true?
I guess to what is people's perception of things basically. So wherever they grew up is like their home to them. So if they see something different in a different area, they're like, oh wow, you guys do it like this. So it's like, yeah.
And that's part of basically what I was saying, perceptions. People's, your perception is your own.
Yeah.
And
you're the product of your upbringing. So
yeah. There's what's that? That saying. There's two sides of a story. Yeah. And it's so true because like
That's always true.
Like right now we're all of us in the same room, we're going through the same thing. But the way we're experiencing it and perceiving it is totally different. And the way we would think back on it tomorrow, it would be totally different again. And that's understanding that is like such a key thing. So when people do things that you just don't respect or that you think is wild, it's like.
So there's, when you said two sides of one story, there's this, I'm going to say one of my friends. So he was in London working and he went for lunch, innit? So there was a homeless person sitting, like, it was outside of Tesco. So he was just standing there because his friend went inside to buy something and he was standing like, not next to them, but like 5 feet away from the homeless person. And the homeless guy was like, move out of my way, people can't see me to give me money. So I was like, right, that's what a homeless guy said to you. And he was like, yeah. And then they started beefing, like, you can't talk to me like that. So he started, blah, blah, blah. And then some white woman came. I don't know why I said white woman. Some woman.
You know she was white?
That's what you told me.
Okay, cool. So you just saying what you said, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. But I don't know why. Because I don't want to bring race into it, basically. Because he's a black guy.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, so the woman came and she's like, oh, you can't speak to him like that. But she didn't hear.
The woman said that your friend can't speak to him.
Yeah, to my friend, because he was swearing. I'm like, you can't fucking speak to me. Sorry, can I swear on this?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Be free.
Yeah, but you can't like effing talk to me like that, blah, blah, blah. You're homeless, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, you can't speak to him like that, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, you don't know the other side of the story, what he said to me. He didn't tell he didn't tell the girl, I mean the woman, that what he said in it, because he doesn't want to make it look like he's bigging up a story. Like she was just like nagging at him, and then obviously people react to stuff what they see, what they've seen. They don't know like the past of what happened. So that's like two sides to one story. I'm just giving an example.
No, there's a whole other point in that with understanding a situation and understanding both sides before you give your verdict. A lot of people in every walk of life tend to just come into a situation.
They see the less privileged side. Obviously, I'm not saying you shouldn't support the left, but in this situation, the homeless guy is obviously less privileged.
Yeah.
But he caused that reaction for it to happen because of what he said.
Yeah.
And she didn't know that. So she's going to support the side that looks less privileged, even though they were in the wrong in the first place.
Yeah. And to an extent, some people do that, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so everyone, I feel like everyone in all walks of life, no matter who you are, we tend to, not everyone, most people, we tend to come into a situation or an argument or a debate and we lead with our feelings and how we feel.
That's just social media.
Right. Without it, basically social media. Yeah. And we lead with how our feelings, how we feel, and we don't really look at side A and look at side B.
That's
and try to understand and come up with an actual response.
That's because of people's personal experiences with that situation. Let's say me and you are playing football.
Yeah.
And I get fouled like 20 times.
Yeah.
And I'm always going to argue with the ref, like, oh, why is he fouling? Blah, blah, blah. But in your mind, like, I'm ripping them up.
Yeah.
Like, just like when people don't have, like, they don't think with their other people's perspective, like we always say.
But it would make everything so much easier. Like, with that specific example, I had a game yesterday because I play football. I had a game yesterday, and one of my players, one of our teammates, he's got dreads.
Yeah.
And we was playing the game, whatever, blah blah blah, and he gets into a little challenge with our player. Yeah. The ball goes, everyone gets up, starts playing again, and then he started not started screaming or anything, but he just started shouting like the ref, oh, you pull my hair, blah blah blah, because the guy must have tugged his hair or something when he ran past him, and he probably did. Like, this guy wouldn't just randomly say it. Yeah. But he was like really losing it and losing at the ref and whatnot. And to the point where the ref could have gave him like a yellow card, like, because he was moving mad. And half time came, and I had to tell him like, okay, cool. So what he's done. Yeah. We believe you. No one's gonna like saying he didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I said to him for a second, breathe for a second, take how you're feeling out of it, and try to understand the ref. Yeah. The ref can't make a decision on something he hasn't seen. Yeah. He had his back turned. He hasn't seen the guy pull your dread, pull your hair. So even if he 100% believes that guy is probably the kind of guy to do it, he can't exactly give you the card. He hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to tell him, breathe for a second, take your feelings out of it just for a second, and think about the ref. He hasn't seen it. He can't give you anything. He can't give the player anything for that. He can't discipline something he hasn't seen. And that's just, if we can just do that for a second, just for 5 seconds, just stop. Just take ourselves out of how we're feeling, even though it's super hard. Just take ourselves out of how we're feeling and out of how we feel about the situation, the certain problem, and understand both scenarios.
Yeah, but we live in a world of reactions rather than stopping and reflecting. We rather react to something that happens in the moment, because that's what social media is basically. People just are literally, it's just quick. Everything is just quick.
Yeah,
like they don't care about the repercussions of what's going to happen with them. Like, let's say he's had an outburst. Let's say he got red carded. That would have been a hindrance to the team. And then he would be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, guys." He will reflect after. Like, he doesn't. People don't think in the moment. They think with their heart rather than their head. So that's how humans are, I guess. That's how our behavior is.
Speaking of social media, like our good friend Simba over there, you mentioned you're not on Instagram.
Yeah.
Is there a specific reason for that? Were you ever on it?
Yeah, I was. It's deactivated. It's not like I've been off grid. I use the topic page. That's the Instagram, but I don't really use it. I just use it for promoting it. But yeah, it was in lockdown, so I was just scrolling on the phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I doing? I checked my screen time. I'm like, 5 hours on Instagram. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, bro, like, I'm not gaining anything. I'm just looking at people's memes and like, what is this? So I was like, let me just take a break. And I was like, my life is much better. I'm doing be more productive. I'm not just sitting there scrolling endlessly.
You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, he told me yesterday. That he's the same. But yeah, I even Twitter, I deleted it. But I did only deleted the app. But I came back to it like just a month ago, and it hasn't changed. It's just I thought something would have changed, but I don't know what I was expecting. It's just still toxic as hell. Just people's opinions everywhere that I don't even care about.
Yeah.
But Twitter is just, I don't even know. I'm gonna delete it again soon.
Yeah, no. So Twitter, I've never.
Yeah, you don't need to, man.
I've never interacted with Twitter.
You don't need it, man.
And I don't imagine I want to. I just have the Twitter for the podcast page.
Yeah, that's probably what you if you have a company and stuff.
Instagram I have, and I do imagine, and we spoke about this, we had a social media conversation, I do envision one day I'm going to be off that all. I wouldn't even have a smartphone.
Yeah, same. I want to do that as well, off the grid, like completely. I want to just have that.
when things are set in place, I will do that. Because even the discovery page, I was looking for the way in my settings to delete the whole discovery page. Like,
I don't even know why that exists.
Because they want you to see.
They want
things.
you. I guess, but I'm not a fan of social media in the first place. Anyway, it's just ruining our generation, especially because we were like the guinea pigs. Like our generation, like everything just came like out of nowhere. Like I remember when Snapchat came out, everybody was just making it. When Instagram was popping, like people just started making stuff. And Facebook,
we were young when we were like early teens,
12, 13, like and we were making this stuff and we don't even know what we were doing.
I remember making my first Facebook account and I was so excited.
Yeah, like why?
My 2 older cousins were making it with me.
It's just crazy to even think of, like we don't comprehend what social media actually is, to the fact that we just use it to show our daily lives, which is, have you seen the Truman Show, that movie?
I know people have been talking.
Bro,
people have told me about it before.
That's a great movie to reflect what we do nowadays, literally. And people don't accept the fact that not everyone needs to know what you're doing every single hour of the day. Like, you need to sometimes you just have to keep to yourself. Yeah,
the people that post every 35 minutes, it's them ones I'm like,
I don't know. I don't understand. And even like, let's say you become like, you get a lot of following on Insta. It's like 50K. I don't understand, because when you deepen, the population is so high. That 50K is just like a tiny amount of people. But people get so big headed with that number that they're like, oh, I'm so big, I'm so famous. Like, bro, do you understand in perspective of like the whole world? This is nothing. This is still just a virtual reality like that you're living in. You might be depressed inside and you don't want to speak about it because you've chosen that lifestyle where you have to show like your, I don't know, VVS and everything that you have. So it's just weird to me when people react to that. It just gets on my gears, like, as you can tell.
That's like, and the remedy is just coming off of it.
Yeah, you need to take a break
and being with yourself for a second.
Yeah, like reflect. I know, like, people might be like, "Oh, that's so gay. What are you doing?" Like, bro, sometimes you just have to be by yourself and just reflect on like what you're doing with your life.
That's the hardest conversation you'd ever have.
Yeah, literally.
The one with yourself.
Yeah,
the hardest conversation you'd ever have. But it's the most easiest because we talk to ourselves every day.
Yeah. But
it's the hardest one anyone would ever have. But like you said, people don't want to reflect, and we're not really told to reflect. Like, even when we think about school.
Sorry.
No, go on.
Even if you're religious, praying is a form of reflection. Yeah. Like, I don't know whatever religion you are. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just pray for like 5 minutes a day.
Yeah.
That's a form of reflection. Like, you're talking to someone that you might not, you think exists. Some people might not, but for you, that's personal. When you're talking about your life, like, oh, obviously don't ask for materialistic stuff. Just talk about like your loved ones or something where you will change your heart or make you a better person. Yeah. Something like that.
And even if you're not necessarily religious or you're not really sure what that means for you, meditate. Yeah. Meditate. Just sit there for 5 minutes.
5 minutes out of the day.
In silence. Focus on your breathing. Focus on the sounds you hear around you. And soon enough, you will just start to just have thoughts and feelings that you're not necessarily conscious of, but that are there, and you will start to recognize certain things. I remember when I started to, it's not something I do all the time, but it's something I try to do sometimes. And I remember starting to meditate and understanding the effect that it does have. And again, the conventional style of meditating, I don't do enough. I need to do, but I'm always doing it in other ways, like when I'm traveling and I'm listening to music.
Yeah, it's anything. You could be reading a book. That's your form of meditation.
Reading a book,
like anything.
When I play football, that's another form
of. That's the same for me. Like,
of going away.
Like football, when I was young, I always had that. When I played it, I was just like, everything in the world was gone, and I'm just in the zone.
You're just on the game. Like,
I don't know if you watched this show called Kuroko no Basket.
Cool, what?
It's an anime. It's stupid, innit? But in that the guy has a power where it's called the zone, and everyone around him is just a blur, and then he's just ripping everyone up. But it's a basketball anime.
Yeah.
So it was just that's what it's like basically. That's like a visualization of what it. If I could show you right now, but I'll show you later. But that's like what it is. Where everything, it's just the pitch and you and the ball and everything around you is the world is gone. That's the feeling that where the adrenaline is just there, and then I will never get that feeling with anything else but football. I don't know why. I tried other sports. It's just football that does that for me.
There is there's a theory on this as well. Because I do a master's sports psychology.
Oh wow.
And
my guy.
and we talk about, you learn certain things and you read up on certain things and certain other theories that people, the academics from the past have spoken about. And there's a theory, I'm trying to remember what it's called. I think something to do, it's so called flow state or something like that.
Yeah. Oh.
And
Ben told me about this as
right,
well.
so you may have heard about it. It's something to do with flow state or something. And it's when you are in that position, when an athlete, because obviously sports stuff, you always talking in terms of athletes, but anyone, when you're in that position in life where you are in an activity where, so there's been papers and research done on athletes who have spoken about being in their sort of, they've done like an incredible skill on the pitch or something like that, and they're questioned about that, like what was going through your mind in that moment, and they will just say, like, I don't know, I wasn't really thinking, it just
happened.
Instinct. So it just happened. Yeah.
And you know why it just happened? Practice.
Right. Practice, of course. And that moment that the guy was talking about, that flow state, it was that you want to get to a place of that flow state where you're not necessarily conscious of things going on around you, but you're picking up everything within that moment and what's happening around you. And I say the same thing that you said when I play football. Like, I could be going through the worst day of my life, but once I put my boots on, I'm on that pitch for like the 90 minutes, everything else is
just great time.
It's just out of the way, and I'm only thinking about the game.
Like my family could be dead, God forbid. But like, if I'm on the pitch,
I know what you mean. Like everything is just out of the way, and nothing is a bother.
Where do you play? What position?
Like midfield or defense.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I 100% resonate with that too, and I agree. And it's a feeling that I feel like is translatable to anything in life, and it's a feeling that I feel like people should search for.
I feel like you can have this feeling with multiple things. It doesn't just have to be one thing like football. Yeah. I feel like sometimes when I'm addicted to a video game, I'm just in like everything is. I'm in the flow state. Yeah. Everything is just going great, like so. It can be multiple things.
Even when hours, you're not thinking about anything else.
You're just, even like with reading. If you're reading a lot, like some people read like 20, 50 pages a day.
Not me, but I try, but no.
Yeah, but that's their flow state, I guess you could say. They just,
I don't know how people will say, "Oh, I've gone through this book. I started yesterday." I'm like, I'm like, finished
bro,
a book within
especially if it's
hours.
Like 300 pages. I'm
oh
like,
my word!
Like, what kind of book is that you're reading? But
I don't know how people just. I try to read, but
yes, I've started lockdown. You know Dave Chappelle, that book that he talked about, Iceberg Slim, that pimp.
I think I
when he told the story about when he was in the bar. I read that. I read that book basically.
Okay,
that's a mad book.
Is it
to read?
What is it? A self-help book or a storybook novel?
It's a biography of him. Cool, just speaking about his life and the guy. Yeah, Iceberg Slim, and his childhood is just crazy. The way he became a pimp. Oh my days! It's actually that's a great book that people should read. Even though it's not good for women, I would say there's a lot of explicit content in that book, and if you don't like that, don't read it. But each of their own. If you want to know about this guy's life, which was mental to even think about how he went through all of that. But
I went through a period. I was listening to. I was reading like a lot of self-help books and biographies, sort of kind of things. I went for a period like the past 2-3 years. I was reading a couple of them. But I've tried to go back into actual novels, reading novels. So there's like 2 or 3 I'm on a bounce on now, and there's one I'm on now, which I've started uni, so I haven't got around to it properly. But I remember the first book I read. It was the first proper novel book I read, like 100, 200 something pages, and it was a wild book. Like, I remember my English teacher was talking about it, and I thought my English teacher was quite cool. Like, I looked up to her, so when she said, it's quite a good book to read, I thought, cool. She gave me the green light. Let me check it out. And I read it, and it was sort of along them lines of what you're saying about that biography. It was like it gave you an introduction and a insight on how another part of the world lived
that you might never experience.
That I've definitely never experienced that, and I knew some of the stuff that went on in that culture. I just had no clue how it ran, and the book was in detail about a story there, and it's called 1,000 Splendid Suns. So yeah, I stopped reading books after that, but then I got into a state of getting all them self-help books and all these biographies.
Everyone goes through that stage.
Right. And then I have this problem where I start books and I never finish them. Yeah. So I have about 8 books on my thing that
I'm in the same boat.
4 or 5 of them I started. Yeah, I'm like 20, 30 pages in and then I haven't go back to it. But yeah, so when people say I started a book yesterday and finished it now, it's a good book. How the hell do you sit there for hours reading? There's weird people out there.
People. If your passion is reading, that's them. That's them.
But yeah, I try to talk to that with people, friends that I have, that like find what it is that just it takes you somewhere else, and just do what you can to do that for your whole life, you know. But it's just hard for people.
You have to manage. So let's say I'm in a position where I'm in a job that I wasn't imagining myself doing.
Yeah.
But it lets me do the stuff that I want to do, and obviously after work hours.
Yeah.
Well, maybe one day I'll be able to leave that job and do the passionate stuff that I like. I even like doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't really passionate about like just speak, because I don't really talk a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not like that type of guy who's always talking, but this helped me. Like even like I like doing this. I even like doing the editing stuff in the back, like the production side. And I'm like, oh, this is another like I can make it into a passion of mine where I can actually do something in the future with it. So I thought like if you start trying new things and you find you haven't found what you like, just keep starting new things and you will see which ones you like and which one you don't.
Real quickly with that, what you just said about being in something that not necessarily something you're into or want to do, but it helps you with other stuff.
Yeah.
I was in that situation in 2018. I've told the story probably 4 times on the podcast, but I was in that story in 2018 where I was working.
Like, oh, this again.
Yeah, and I was working in Sainsbury's, and I was working twice a week part time, and like 600, 500 a month. It's good. I'm not
18-year-old is good.
Yeah, I'm not doing that much. I was like, I was turning 18. Yeah, it was 2018, so I had turned 18. Yeah, and I was like, yeah, it's all right. But it just got to a point where it was just taking more out of me than I was getting, and I had made a decision to just go, you know what, I'm not doing it. I'm leaving. Blah blah blah, and I didn't find anything. I wasn't working, so I had left it in the end of 2018. And I didn't find a job again until 2019, June, July. Okay, so for the first 6 months, 7 months of that year,
just a bum.
I was just a bum. Literally, I was a bum at home. I couldn't really go anywhere, do anything. I wasn't earning money. And I was constantly going through like that debates and battles in my mind. Should I have done that? Should I go back and try and get something? And but I had made the promise to myself when I left that place, I'm never going to go back and do something just because, I get paid the money, or basically I was like, if it doesn't do anything for me, like internally, I can't.
Yeah, like there's this saying, like when you do something and you regret it, that's the worst feeling than just losing it in general. Mm-hmm. Like we're doing something and after like six months and you're regretting it. Regretting something is worse than like losing, like getting fired. Yeah. Because when you start regretting stuff, that's when you're in your mind, you're like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. But you should just, I feel like most people start living in the future rather than the past or the present they should be living in. Like, if more people lived in like the time that they are now, there will be less like mental health issues. I think people will start, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that.
Yeah.
It will not like be that mentality of like, I need to be at this point in life, I need to do this. Like, you don't need to do anything. This is your journey.
Right.
Everybody gets somewhere in their own time. You don't have to follow this step of like your role model that you follow.
And I wouldn't even say that regretting something is worse than losing it.
You don't think so?
I would say, no, to an extent I agree, but I would say more that I wouldn't say that I regret the thing of whatever it was, maybe, but I would definitely say I regret the time spent on that thing. Yeah. I'm a big believer in time, like being one of the most valuable things. I have a friend who's an artist, and I tell him all the time, like, like release music, work on your music, blah blah blah, which he does to an extent. But there was a moment where he had the plan to put a lot of time and effort into something else that he felt like was going to sort of propel the music career forward. And I was just like, don't do that. All that time and effort you want to spend on that thing which you have no interest in and don't really want to do, it's kind of, he was kind of interested in it, but it's not something he really sees himself doing. It just was something, it was a tool to make his music career bigger. All that time and effort, spend that on the music.
Yeah.
Because that time and effort
you can't get
that
it
you're
back.
putting in, that you're not getting it back. And okay, let's say your plan is successful, you do that, and it helps the music career, and then everybody sees your music and he's a sick artist, and then your music career pushes off. All right, cool, fair enough.
Yeah.
But if you do that and then people look at you and they know you from that, and they don't really want to know you from their music career because they've associated this with you, or you feel like, oh, this is not working, I'm going to stop, which is what ended up happening. He stopped doing it. All that time now, the months we put in and effort you made in doing that, it's like, what was it for now? All that time you could have spent writing music, working on your craft, perfecting it.
We don't really, especially when you're young and you come out like school, you don't really comprehend the concept of time.
You don't.
You actually don't. Like, it's actually...
And it's hard to.
It's hard. It's tough, but we're still 22. We have our whole life ahead of us. Hopefully, nothing happens to you. I hope nothing happens to any of you. But yeah,
just to be clear.
Yeah, just to be clear. Yeah, so like we have a whole life ahead of us, and with time, you don't have to rush things. Like, I feel like because of, again, so I don't want to bring social media into this.
Yeah.
Because you see people at our age having like all of these.
We know you hate social media.
Yeah, so I know. I just hate bringing it in, but Ben always tells me this, like, stop bringing social media into every conversation. But yeah, it's just that the world we live in, like, it revolves around it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we see all of this like extravagant stuff on social media, like people our age, they're going on holidays, like, bro, like, oh, why can't I be like that? You don't have to, bro. You don't. This, most of the people that are doing this, they're probably depressed as hell. This is just a virtual life that they're living in.
No one else is running everyone's running their own race, and once we understand that, we would be a lot better off. No, the topic podcast, I want people to go check that out. Tell people how they can go check that out, how they can find the Topic Podcast.
I guess just type into Topic on social, on Spotify.
It's everywhere.
It's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. What's the other ones? Breaker. I think it's on one of the Heart something, whatever their publication is.
It's about the Topic Podcast. It's
basically on every listening platform you can think of.
So type in the Topic Podcast, and
then the Instagram is topic_, the _topic _ podcast.
All right.
So it's just a red logo.
Yeah. So people check that out, man. If you're into Musa, you're catching his vibes. Check that out. It's not just him, he's got his boy Ben on it as well.
Catch his vibes as well.
Shout out to Ben. Musa, man, I appreciate you coming down. I appreciate you being here.
Bro, don't worry, man.
You're good vibes. It's good to have a chat with you.
Yeah, bro, this was great, man. Thanks for having me, man.
No, thank you, man.
Next time, don't give me 12 hours.
You did well. People appreciate it. We'll let you go, let you be. Have a good day, have a good morning, have a good night. Stay safe, stay sweet, stay sweet.